All right. So this pops up quite a bit is commercial construction is when somebody has built a house and now they're trying to build a business or a healthcare facility or they always think it's the same process. So why are commercial contractors different and the way their pricing is different? And it's just residential and commercial. While there is similarities, you're still ultimately building something. There's some huge differences there. What are some of those differences?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I guess you can, if you simplify it, there are a lot of parallels, right? It's construction, it's building. Now, the construction is usually very different, right? You can stick frame a residential house here in Florida. You'd be hard pressed to, build a commercial building, say a shopping center with stick framing, right? Typically see TPO roofing on the commercial buildings, whereas you have shingles on the residential. So just from a building standpoint, there's differences in which drive the cost, right? Your mechanical components, your electrical components, your plumbing components, you just need a lot more there. But even more so, it's really the regulations surrounding commercial. In a residential space, yes, you and your family are living in there, but you're not inviting the general public, right? So there's not quote unquote public safety concerns and boxes that the city necessarily wants to check, right? They're not going to let you build something that's unsafe, uninhabitable. But the regulations are, in my experience, a lot less for residential than they are commercial. Because of those regulations, you typically get higher prices because the folks that you're hiring, A, know those regulations and they are hoops and they are challenges, but B, have the right people in the right places to execute on the work. A lot of times, your residential subcontractors are smaller outfits. They very well may do great work, just the same work. It's just smaller outfits, meaning smaller overhead, less paperwork. When you go down to the billings of residential versus commercial, right? We're not talking about billings at the moment, but the process involved in getting paid from a homeowner versus a business on a commercial project is a lot more difficult. I mean, there's often times that we're not seeing payment on work completed until 60 to 90 days from that point, right? The pay applications, the schedule of values, the different, which you have to go through on residential, but in my experience, not under as much of a microscope in that process. And typically your payment terms are net 30, if that. So there's just a lot of different nuances. I think ultimately it comes down to regulation and the regulation surrounding commercial versus residential is what requires, or what kind of drives that cost.
Yeah. And there in Florida, I'm not sure if the other states are like this too, but there's a different building code book for residential and commercial.
Yeah. Right. And I think that goes back to, right, public safety. They're more concerned about public safety in a commercial space than they are in a residential space, right? And so they view it differently, and therefore the code is different, right? You have your residential code and your commercial code. And then you have your energy and your existing building and stuff that have interweave with one another. But ultimately, the governing force on both of those is commercial and residential.
Yeah, and typically, like you said, life safety, but also ADA, I would throw out there is less
point.
prevalent. You don't need to make your house wheelchair accessible.
Right.
You don't need to have an elevator
Right.
for second story buildings.
Right. And this is the
2-story buildings.
Weird things, right? It's the strange things. It's the things that until you go through the process, you don't really think about, right? Hire a residential contractor for your commercial space. And maybe they know, maybe they don't, but it's not typical or it's not required in residential. But something as small as what side the actual flush handle is on that toilet, right? You can be anywhere in a residential space. In a commercial space, you have to be off the wall. You have to be on the other side, right? There's different nuances that they look at that just drive the cost. You don't need a bunch of grab bars in your restroom at your house, However, in a commercial space, you need the grab bars. Just, and then space wise, right? You're talking clearances now all of a sudden, clear turning radiuses, ADA compliance, right? Now you need more space in your restroom. You need a larger restroom than you would
Right.
in a residential house because ADA requirements. So yeah, just that's a big one. ADA is a big one.
Yeah. So those are all great points, and there's a lot of GCs that do a great job of crossing over, but it is just understanding that there is some nuances and why some of those costs are going to be more if you've never built a commercial space before and only had done residential type projects. So
yeah,
awesome, man. Well, I think that's all we got for today.
Okay.
Keep it short and sweet, but covered a lot. So keep your questions coming, and we will answer them as we're getting them. And we'll see you next time on Blueprints to Punch List.
Cool. See you.